Hi, everybody. Claire with Clairvoyant Psychic Medium here, and
Erica with Erica Lane. So today we are going to be talking about being an empath and how to protect your empathic energy from energy vampires, which was another topic that was requested from somebody. So excited to get into it. So I guess where we could maybe start is let's just talk about what it means to be an empath.
okay. I guess we kind of covered this in our last video a little bit about how one of the Claires is a little bit more empathic, but just empath in general. Why don't we talk about like how we figured out we were empaths too? That might be a cool thing to talk about.
Okay.
So I'll start there. So the main thing for me is when I was going to Grace University, I was living in the dorms, and when I was living in the dorms, the second year that I was there, it was the second year, first semester, I had 9 sinus infections, pink eye 3 times, whooping cough. I think it was for 19 weeks, but all my friends think that it was way longer than 19 weeks. So I don't know how long it was, apparently. And scabies. Yeah, caught all of this stuff. So this is when I Googled, because I was so sick, I ended up having to actually like drop out of my classes because I couldn't go to class. So I remember typing in on Google, how can a person get sick without being in contact with other humans? Like, I remember Googling that because I was so confused. Like, how am I getting pink eye when I'm not around anybody else, you know? Or how am I getting like all of this stuff? And all of this stuff just started coming up about empaths. And I was like, oh my God, this is so crazy. So I used to be a youth pastor, and every single Wednesday I would be teaching these youth kids. So those of you that are from Omaha, I used to teach at Faith Bible Church. It's on 24th and Martha. Ghetto. And I used to pick up a bunch of kids from the projects in South Omaha, and it was a bunch of like really inner city, harsh kids. Like, we saw a person die one time when I was taking somebody home. Like we saw somebody shoot somebody, and I was like, oh, okay, we're going to get ice cream now, kids. Like, I was, like really bad stuff we saw. So every single Wednesday before I would have to go into youth group, I would be physically vomiting. And I would be like, I'm not sick. What is going on? Why am I vomiting? What is going on? So this is where it all kind of started to play into part of like, I was being 100% bombarded by everybody's stuff. And it was just completely taking over my body. So we could go into just the whole, like, there's different types of empaths. There's the Hyoka empath, I think it is. Hang on, I'm going to Google it really quick since we're Hyoka. So this is the Indian name for a powerful empath. These people mirror the emotions of someone behaving or even feeling an inappropriate or untoward emotions towards other. They mirror the good, and they also mirror the bad. So it is the most powerful form of being an empath. Did you know about this, Erica?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So the only reason why I've figured this out is because I've, over the years of doing all of my just sessions and everything, my tattoo artist, actually, he was the one that was like, I think you're a Hyoka empath. And I was like, I don't know what the hell that is. I know I'm an empath because, but, so yeah, that's kind of how I figured it out. In my sessions, I'm able to feel absolutely everything. I can feel if you have a cavity. I can feel if you have a sinus infection. I can feel if you have gas. I can feel if you could like have an injury of any kind. Like, every single thing I can feel physically, and then all of the emotions, all of everything else. So I guess you could, I don't like labels. I'm an Aquarius. So I guess you could say I'm a Hyoka empath or Hyoka. I don't know how to fucking say it, but whatever. So I think that's it. That's like my story of how I figured it out. And then once I kind of came out of Grace Bible College, like I kind of really started to detach from everybody. Well, I was on bed rest for 3 years very shortly after that. So there was no people around. So, yeah, I really started to figure out like, okay, this is mine, this is theirs, this is mine. And like, I ended up having a whole like long period of my life where I kind of guinea pigged to try to like figure out. When I worked in the rehab, it was super easy because all of the people in the rehab were very intense. So it was very easy for me to be like, okay, that is their emotions. I separate this and this is my emotions. So it takes a lot. And people that don't know that they're empaths, it sucks. It really sucks.
Yeah. We can remember back to when we were like that. So
yeah.
And how much it sucks. So I guess for me, I think it was just more of like a gradual understanding of when I was around certain people, I would feel like shit. And then it's interesting because, and I'll get into this because this is what I did my research on, but it's interesting because as an empath, you hate being alone, but as an empath, you also kind of hate being around people. So it's like this vicious cycle of like, I want to surround myself with other people because it makes me feel comfortable. But then in the same sense, as soon as you're surrounding yourself with certain kind of people, you actually feel shittier. And it's just like this perpetuating cycle. So that's, I guess, what kind of was a wake up call for me is I just realized that when I was around certain people, I just would feel angry and I would feel lost and I would feel confused and I would feel sad. And like, I knew that wasn't myself. Like, I have no reason to be upset and mad right now, but for some reason I do when I'm around so-and-so, so that's kind of my little story there.
When you started coming to get Reiki from me, was that when you kind of like learned about being an empath, or did you know about that before?
So, so I guess I'll kind of talk about that a little bit. So what I did my research on was more of a psychological understanding of this, which is what they call, the whole little dance between being a codependent and being a narcissist. So I already knew about that for quite a long time, just through my whole role of going through counseling so many times throughout my life. I kind of learned like at a pretty young age that I was taking on more of those codependent energies and I was surrounded by a lot of narcissistic energy. So I kind of like, I had like a general understanding of that, but I don't think I had like a self-actualized understanding of that until I went through my spiritual awakening, which was shortly before I came into contact with you. So.
Okay. Remind me again what your question was that you just asked, and I totally diverted it to talking about how I became an empath.
So I was just going to have you start talking about like what the definition of an empath is, but I think that you pretty much covered that in explaining how you knew that you were an empath.
So should I, do you want me to kind of talk about what I go through in Reiki wise with empaths, like solar plexus?
Like maybe talk about, so since I'm going to get into the more psychological standpoint of it, I'd like you to get into the more
spiritual,
metaphysical side of it and like how it correlates with your chakras and your energy points and all that good stuff.
Okay. All right. And as you can tell, guys, I'm going to be completely blunt right now. I had a hell of a week and I did not research. So Erica's totally like running the show right now. So thank God for Erica.
It's okay.
But,
it doesn't even feel that way.
Well, good. Okay. So, as far as just empaths in general, I will say that a good 90% of the women that lay on my tables, and I say women because most of the people that come to me are women. But I do have quite a bit of men, but whatever. So, most of the people that lay on my tables are empaths. It is very rare. I can literally count like probably 3 last year that were not empaths. So I see over 37, I think see over 37 people a month, and only 3 of them the whole entire year were not empaths. So that kind of gives you a good idea of like, as empaths, we're trying to be like, help us,
Now, before you keep going, so when you say these particular 3 people that were not empaths, would you say that they could be considered as the energy vampire side of things?
Um, two of them, yes. One of them was an anomaly, and I literally have no idea how. I don't know. I never understood her. But like introduced to the coven, I was like, this is the anomaly. I don't understand her. She's confusing. Like, she's never had any challenges in her life. She's never went through anything, so she doesn't know how to like connect on an emotional level with people. Everything was logic. It was super confusing to me. I didn't get it. But
Kind of like that article about how people don't have that inner monologue, and we're like, how the fuck is that possible?
yeah. So back to like, yes, if most of the people that are sitting on my table are empaths. So I have noticed that when I'm kind of in there are two types that I kind of deal with. So there's the people that walk into Walmart and they're instantly bombarded with all of the energy in Walmart. So that's somebody, I do that. That's something that I do. There's been many times where I've walked into Walmart and I've like been shopping and I have a cart full of stuff and I'm just like, I can't do this anymore, and I just walk out. Like I've done it a lot, and I get too much anxiety because I forgot to bubble up or I forgot to protect. Even if I do bubble up, sometimes as an empath, it's like too much, you know? So, so there's those type of people, and then there's the empaths that are just empathic for family, friends, and loved ones. So those people that just let their like core people of who I see is in their heart, like, those are the only ones that they soak up their energy. But those people could suffocate the shit out of you. So it's neither are fun, basically. But how I see this is when I'm in your solar plexus, how I'm going to say the whole thing. Okay. So I see it as a stew. I'm a very big analogy person. So as a stew, like, here is your carrot. Here's how you view your husband. These are all of your emotions about your husband. Here's your potato. Here's how you view, your kids or whatever. This is all of your emotions about them. This is your stew. The stew is fine. The water is okay. But when you allow other people to shit their stew into your stew, everything overflows. So when other people's stew is in your stew, it can go up or down. So physical ways to kind of figuring that out is if it goes up, you get heartburn and more than likely you cry. So this one sometimes is disconnected because we have people like me and Erica who are very Saturn based and we don't cry very easily. So we could just be getting heartburn with no tears that are happening. Or it can go down and you get the shits or constipated and you're angry. So this is the majority of what people feel is the anger thing, because anger is a secondary emotion. There's so much shit behind it. And most of the time humans do not figure out, why am I angry? They just let the anger take over, kind of a thing. So that's kind of like how I tackle. I first figure out what type of empath they are, and then I figure out which way it's going. And then I can kind of like link on, like, say they're the ones that cry. So then this means that they have to figure out what is hurting their heart. What is the sadness? Why are you crying? What is going on? Like, going that route. Or if it's going down and it's anger, it is a little bit more work to do, because you have to kind of like go in steps. Like, okay, what was your main emotion today? Okay, you were pissed off. Why were you pissed off? Oh, somebody at work like was yelling at you. So were they meaning to be yelling at you? What was your real feeling? And then come to find out that they were pissed off about something else and it was just all secondary, blah, blah, blah. So the main thing is your vegetables in your stew, you are required to identify them. If you don't identify that this is a potato and this is a carrot, and you just have all of these free floating vegetables in here, you get that bloated feel and then it overflows and you don't have room to see yourself anymore. This is where we have the problem with empaths. So how I view this, you can't really see me. I'm going to stand up for this. Okay. So your solar plexus is right here. Your self-worth feels like it's kind of like right there. If someone else's stew is in your stew, it pushes up against your self-worth. So you make yourself smaller, and then you're not able to like be you anymore. And you just mold into everybody else's emotions and you think that they're theirs, that they are yours. So it's all a matter of It's a lot of work. Being an empath really does suck, and it is a lot of work, and you have to like keep breaking down like, okay, that was his emotions. Now let's talk about you. Nope, that was his emotions. Let's talk about you. It's a lot of that in my sessions, like making sure that you're like, whoop, you're being an empath in this moment. Let's focus back on you. So that's it.
Okay, so now before I get into my whole spiel on things, I also want you to go over like what kind of tools do you give to your clients to help them move forward without sucking up that energy from other people?
Okay.
Like you said about bubbling, like talk about things like that.
Okay, so I'm a Twilight fan. So I kind of go into the realms of, if you guys know, you can think of Bella off of Twilight, how she develops a shield, or Glenda the Good Witch that comes down in the little bubble, or you can imagine a ribbon going around your body. Some people zip themselves up. Some people imagine a pod. They're literally anything that gives you a barrier between your energy and everything else. How I used to do this when I worked in the corporate world, I used to work in lots of call centers. I would have a Post-it note in my car that said bubble up. So I would sit in my car and I would imagine the bubble coming around me, and I'd be like, this is my energy. I only want to feel my energy. No one else's energy is allowed to penetrate this. And so it is. So that would protect my energy. And then like even people that are really bad, like if you have somebody that's always negative to you or puts you down, you can just put your hand right here and it's not going to come in. So you can, like, they're being mean and you're like, nope, this is that intent. It's not going to come in. Or even just like wipe away the words that they're saying. Who cares what you look like? Who cares that you're like, oh, you know? Those are all ways to protect, but you also have to make sure that you are equally dumping. So even though you are protecting and you are bubbling yourself, we're still going to pick up people's stuff. Being an empath, you're going to, and if you're the whatever Hyoka empath, whatever, you're going to. So there are so many ways that you can dump, but the easiest ways are like crack your window a little bit and throw things out the window. So like, all right, I was at work and this lady said this thing to me, throw it out the window. Okay, then this mean person came in and did this, throw it out the window. Or when you're in the shower, imagine those things going down the drain. Or take a crystal, like I use selenite, and put it on your solar plexus and imagine all of it going into the selenite. You can have it go through your feet into the ground as you're grounding, into the bath, having the wind take it, but that's kind of like the car. But if it's a windy day, oh yeah, and dumping and journaling on people, yeah, or just journaling in general, yes. Getting it out of you, so it is not having someone else's stew in your stew, so you can connect back to yourself. It is vitally important that we all do this, because everyone is walking around, if that they are empaths, trying to be just themselves, and it's so hard when you have other people's stuff in here. So that's why Reiki and energy healing is so vital, because it's something that you have to be constantly clearing yourself out to connect you back to your higher self, to be like, nope, this is the path that I'm supposed to be on, because everybody else fucks it up and derails you all the time.
Now, for anybody watching that thinks that sounds like a bunch of hoo-ha or whatever you want to say, well, let me just give you like a more logical standpoint though. So a lot of like I'm going to use an analogy like crystals. A lot of people are like, oh, you fucking psychos, you think that this amethyst right here gives you psychic protection? You think this amethyst right here opens your mind or some, you know, whatever, I don't know, what is the more like subtle things of an amethyst?
Natural tranquilizer.
Okay, so you silly woman, you think that this amethyst is going to help you sleep at night? And what I have to say about that is, you might be right. Maybe it's not the actual rock itself that has the power, but once you start opening yourself up to the power of your own mind, you will realize that the intent, the mental thing that you're placing with this rock is what gives it the power. And it's the same thing with all of these techniques that she's talking about. You're basically making yourself intentionally aware of what you're doing. So you are being awake in the moment and being intentional about, I'm going to block myself off from this energy. And you're being intentional at the end of the day of, I need to get this out of me. I've been through a lot of shit today and I need to sift through it and wipe my slate clean so I can move on the next day with a clean slate. So
yeah. Like I always try to say, like, the reason that I use crystals is because they're pretty and I love them and I can feel their energy. I don't care what anybody says. But if you were to take a pen and put that in your pocket and say that this pen is going to be the thing that helps me block my energy or helps me absorb, and whatever the fuck your intent is, it's the same thing. You can use this as a crystal instead. It doesn't matter.
And it's the same thing with everything that you do in your life. Like when you drink a glass of water, you're like, this glass of water is going to hydrate me and keep me healthy. This piece of broccoli is going to give me A, B, and C vitamin. Like you put the mental intent on every single thing that you do every day. This is just bringing you into a more conscious realm of it, of actually thinking about those things as you're doing them.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, I think that's it. That's all I have to say. Let's get into your stuff.
Okay. So, I remember when I was younger, I read something somewhere, I don't remember where, but it basically said that anybody that goes through any type of trauma, basically as a child, they will either get developed into a codependent person or they will get developed into a narcissistic person. And the best way to kind of break that down on what I wish that I would have wrote down maybe some examples of like characteristics that would resonate with you if you were one way or the other. First of all, let me just say that you're probably not narcissistic if you're watching this video, because narcissisms do not care about self-help and they do not care about self-actualizing at all. But a codependent will. So that's where they have some more hope, I guess, like than a narcissistic person would. But anyway, so usually when you've been through some trauma as a kid, you get this identity wound, right? And so you either build up this identity by being needed, or you build up this identity by being adored. So that's where you can find this difference between the codependent and the narcissist, because a codependent person, their basic instinct, subconscious need is that they need, not want, they need to be needed. And they hate being alone, because being alone means that they have to sit and sift through their own pain and emotions. And so it's basically the same thing as an alcoholic or a drug addict. They want to collect other people's energies to distract themselves from their own energy. And I'm not saying you're doing this intentionally, but you're doing it subconsciously. And a narcissist, on the other hand, they were depleted somewhere of that energy in their lives. And so they basically just want to feed off of it from everybody else. So a codependent needs to be needed, and a narcissist needs to be wanted or needs to be adored. And so it's this little dance that everybody plays together throughout their whole lives of like, ooh, let me fix all of your problems. And then the narcissist is like, sure, let me deplete all your energy, and like engulfs you and gobbles you up. So when we talk about being an empath and being an energy vampire, I look at the energy vampire as the people walking around that are super ego-centered and sucking up basically the empathic energy. And the empaths usually, if you don't go through these necessary steps to like actualize yourself on that and realize what that is, like she said, when your stew bubbles over and you don't know who you are anymore, that's because you're a codependent. And all that you know is how you're needed to everybody else. So I have more to say, but I want to take a break on that and see if you have anything to put into that.
The first thing that is extremely weird is that I was scrolling on TikTok last night, and I found somebody that was saying exactly what you were saying about how when you have something traumatic happen, you go one or the other way, you know? And just for, I guess I wanted to clarify this, is that codependency and narcissistic tendencies are equally both energy vampires, because codependence can suck you completely fucking dry and you are not able to like be yourself because you have to take care of this codependent baby, you know? So does that make sense to you what I'm saying?
Yeah, I feel like if you looked at it in a collective basis, you have this whole dance in general, just depleting the energy out of the world basically, and there's no one creating the energy to replenish it.
Okay.
Yeah, so you have a bunch of like, this is why if you go to the store or you walk out into the world, you see a bunch of like literal fucking zombies just walking around everywhere. They're all depleted.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess the whole thing keeps going. I keep going back to like when I used to work in the rehab, because when you were admitted into the rehab, you had to have two things wrong with you mentally. And I hated that I say that, wrong with you. And then also two addictions. So we had a lot of narcissists. And if you were a narcissist and you got on a certain level, you could become a sociopath. Like it levels you up. And then if you're a sociopath, you could become a psychopath, you know? And oh man, I could go on and on about all of this mental stuff forever, but it's just insane to me to feel like I have one person in my mind that I remember that was extremely like humongous narcissistic tendencies, and the trickery and the manipulation and the gaslighting and all of the words you can think of that were so terrible was so hard. Like they would pick something that you knew that you were like a little bit vulnerable about, and then like shower you with like, oh, this is so beautiful. Like me, of course, I was always vulnerable about my weight. I've always has been, you know? And they would be like, oh, you look like you've lost weight today. Oh my gosh, you're looking so good. You look great, you know, to like butter me up so they could, you know, get in there. Yeah. So, it is like there's tons of articles all over the place how narcissists are the empath's worst nightmare, kind of a thing, that they're attracted to, like this is a terrible pairing, blah 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 blah. And yes, it is a thing, but this is also a very I don't even know how to say this. In the millennial age, new age, whatever, we're very fixated on you're a gaslighter, you're a narcissist, you're a, you know, like everything is labels, you know, but in reality, let's take control of us. And if we're an empath, let's figure this out, you know?
Right.
Who the fuck cares about everybody else, kind of a thing. But yes, we need to kind of see the signs and symbols of where we are heading, you know?
So that's one thing I was going to talk about is if you find yourself constantly being surrounded by energy vampires, if you are living with or associated with, or you have people in your family that when you're around them, you feel like literal dog shit, the fucking harsh truth of the matter is that you are feeding off of it as well. So the root issue of this whole thing is that, like, okay, to someone who wants to think logically about this, I could come to Claire and I could be like, hey Claire, I have this friend and she constantly puts me down and she always wants things from me and she asks me for advice and I give her advice and she never takes it, and I feel like I'm putting way more into this friendship than she is, and I feel overwhelmed and overloaded by the amount of bullshit that she's putting on my plate, and I'm trying to help and it's just not ever enough and she just makes me feel like shit. And then Claire would say, okay, well then get rid of that friend. Why are you friends with her? And then the empath would be like, oh, well, because I love her. She's been my best friend for 10 years. I can't just get rid of her. Like, that's just absurd. How the fuck do you even expect me to do that? What? And then Claire would be like, but she's making your life miserable. She makes you feel like shit all the time. So like, this makes absolute no logical sense why you're doing this. Well, an empathic person that has come to the point of codependency, they look at themselves like they're these great people, and they are. Like, we're all the natural healers, and that's why we have these labels on our forehead for all the narcissists, because they can just see it right off the bat. This is a good person. This person will help me. This is just, you know, a very nice person. And that's why they're all attracted to us. So that's how we look at ourselves too. And so we're like, you know, oh, I'm just a nice person. But really what the root of the issue is that if you were to get rid of that friend, then you would be lonely. You would have to sit at home alone. You wouldn't have that friend to call on and hang out with. And It's an ego-driven thing either way. You don't want to sit at home with your own bullshit, and you don't want to look at your own problems. And there's something within the root of the issue that stems probably clear back to childhood that you are still pained about, that you are still in pain about, that you're not fixing. And so you're distracting yourself from that with sucking up other people's energies and trying to fix other people so you don't have to try to fix yourself.
Yeah. And I mean, going along with what Erica said, like there might have been something like in your past that caused abandonment issues, and you have that like feeling of, oh, I know what it's like to be abandoned, so I can't abandon these people because and like you tie it into your own triggers and your own trauma. But that's the whole point of, let's go back to you. Let's figure out just you and erase everybody else so you can understand the core of who you are when you're not tied up in all of these other strings with other people. And then you can add in people as added values and, I want to say the word presence, but I don't know what the word is, like happiness, instead of like, I have to have this person in my life. This person needs me. This person requires me to do this. When in reality, when you know who you are, you can be like, fuck off. I don't need you. You don't serve me. Oh, another thing, back to what you were saying, is that I always try to tell people, like, you have to make sure, because when you were talking about how this person just takes, blah, 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 whatever, there needs to be an equal energy exchange with anyone. So like something that Erica and I do all the time is I'll send her a text. I'll be like, I need to dump. And that is like my cue to be like, hey, I have a bunch of stuff that I need to dump. Do you have stuff that you need to dump? Because let's have this equal energy exchange. Because if I was just coming to her and be like, oh, my life is terrible, I need to freak out, blah, blah, blah. Okay, bye. You know, and just who gives a fuck.
Oh my God, and that's so common.
Yeah, it really is.
I guarantee you people watching this video will be like, yes, I have like 5 friends that do this to me, and they just like unload all their fucking problems. And then I'm like, oh, hey, I got fired today. And they're like, oh, that's cool. Okay, talk to you later, you know? And they just leave you. And that's why empaths and codependents always feel depleted of energy, and they never feel valued enough or appreciated enough. And that's the deepest internal wound, is that they don't feel like they're being valued and seen for all the great hard work that they're doing for everybody else.
Yep. And that's the easiest way to figure it out, is if you can look at a relationship and be like, is there equal energy exchange that is happening? What about, and even just this conversation that you're having with this person, is there an equal energy exchange? Like, so for example, like people that come to me, like, and I'm giving them all help, but they are paying for my service, that energy of money. And then I give my energy. And then if it's just a person, like a friend, like I said with Erica, you have to have the both thing that's happening. I do not have anyone in my life anymore that just is a taker. They will fly away because nope.
Well, and so also I think you could probably say that if you are like super empathic and you're trying to get into the realm of doing this for a living and being like a light worker or an energy healer or whatever, it's really hard for you to go past that hump where you're going to start charging people for money.
Yeah.
Every single light worker I've ever talked to had that. And there's a lot of light workers out there that still haven't gotten it figured out yet or gotten it together yet, because they won't charge money, or they won't charge what they're worth, you know? And again, they're walking around like depleted zombies.
Yep. Yeah.
And then they're not doing good work, you know? They're not really doing the best kind of healing that they could be doing because they're not getting replenished.
Yep. But you guys will get there. Like, that's what I keep saying to people, is that if you put in the work to figure yourself out, that's the foundation that you can work from, you know? And if you put in that work to do that, then it can be figured out. But if you don't, and you want to walk around this world like a zombie, fucking get out of my way.
The first step to anything is looking around you and being like, I am not comfortable and I am not happy in my current situation right now, and I want to change. That's all it takes. And then that's the foundation. And as long as you keep having that mentality, you'll grow your way out of it eventually.
Yes.
So my advice on how to block yourself from energy vampires is this great simple little thought called boundaries.
Yeah,
So,
simple.
so I know that a lot of people that have been in the whole codependent, narcissistic, romantic relationship, they'll eventually get, basically what it takes to finally leave that relationship is that the uncomfortableness you feel in the relationship finally outweighs the addiction, I guess, to this energy exchange that you have. So then you finally like, fuck it, okay, I'm going and I'm leaving. And so when you do that, though, then you're still not doing the inner work. And so guess what? The next time that you sign up for a dating app or whatever, and you start going out on dates, oh, next thing you know, you fell in love with another narcissist and you didn't see it coming, and you're stuck back in the same trap, in the same cycle. So if you're in that situation where you're single right now and you're looking at going out and dating again, and you've been in this type of relationship before, the best way to test the relationship right out the park to see how it's going to go is to put up some boundaries with that person. So like, for instance, said person comes over and they want to stay the night. Say, no, I got to work in the morning, so you're going to have to leave the house by like 9. And then just watch. Just sit back and fucking watch what they do. A narcissistic person will not be okay with that. They are not okay with boundaries at all whatsoever. They just want to barge into your life like the fucking Kool-Aid man and do whatever the fuck they want to do to your life. So, and this isn't just for relationships, this is for everybody. And you will just so easily see the waves part and see who is really a true friend and who isn't, and who is really someone that you should keep in your family and who isn't, and so on and so forth. It's really that simple. Basically, you just look at yourself and what you need in life, how much sleep you need, how much food you need, how much you need someone to listen to you, what kind of compliments you need from other people, your fucking love language, whatever it is, you learn those things about yourself, and then you start demanding that from other people. And if they don't meet that need, then gone. And it's not, I know that the way that it sounds is so much more simple. Like, trust me, I've been going through this myself my entire fucking life. And I have, honestly, this is probably the one thing that I struggle with the most. And it sucks. It really does. And you really, and especially when you get to the point where you don't even know who the hell you are anymore, it's like, it's so scary to sit alone with yourself and start sifting through that. And it's so painful and it's depressing. And it's like this big dark wormhole that you have to dive into. And none of it feels good and none of it feels pretty. But I guess my little thing of reassurance there is that there's things that can happen to you in life that will put you in that pit, whether you like it or not. That's just a part of life. So the best way to cope with that is to get comfortable with that uncomfy pit, and have faith that, you know, once you really dive in there and get through it, you'll come out the other end so much happier and so much lighter and peaceful.
Yeah. Can I talk?
Yeah.
Okay. So one thing I want to pinpoint is that you were talking about how like if you say that you have to leave at 9 p.m., this could also offend codependent people as well. So
yeah, you're
it's
right.
and because I can identify with that completely. Like, that was something that my boyfriend did right off the bat, and he set big boundaries, and I was like, no, you can't leave, like like that kind of a feel. But it shaped me to not be codependent, you know, and that this relationship was not going to be that kind of a relationship. So
but when you say it's a different kind of freak out that a narcissist
yes.
would have versus a codependent.
Yes. But I just wanted to kind of clarify, because like I was saying before, codependent people can definitely suck the life out of you just as much as a narcissist can. The codependent ones are a little fluffier and lighter, and they feel like good juge. The narcissists are like, bleh, you know. Oh, dang it, there was something else I was gonna say.
Well, and also, before you wake up to it, narcissists don't really feel like yucky energy. They feel very charming and smooth and attractive and sexy, and like there's so much that's so appealing about a narcissist right off the bat. That's why it's easy to fall into their trap.
Yeah.
As to where a codependent would kind of come off needy. So.
Ooh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say. So kind of with going along with what she was saying about kind of understanding where you're at in the foundation thing. So I kind of want to like give you a little tips or something to help with that. So when Erica was talking about being in that space where you're just so alone and so like scared to figure out life on your own, blah, blah, blah. I found for myself, like, you don't have to be as drastic as I am, but I took a year off of dating because I was like, I'm fucking everything up. This is not working. I have to like not do this for a while so I can figure out what am I doing wrong, you know? And I had so many moments in there where I was like, oh my God, I can't do this life by myself. I don't know what to do. So I did the extra extreme and I took off on a trip by myself. So I could only rely on me. I only had me to turn to, and like understanding that I can trust myself. And that is the foundation that you have to have in order to move forward. So I can always come back to that kind of a feel. I'm a Taurus rising, so I have to have like actual physical change to happen to make it like valid, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Material change. Yeah.
Yeah. So, in order, like usually if I need to get a different perspective on something, I need like a change of scenery so I can like see something different kind of a feel. But, yeah, I took off. I went on a trip. It was like, I think I was gone for like 2-3 weeks almost. And I just was driving for a long time all by myself, going through snowstorms by myself, dealing with a flat tire by myself. Like it was scary. I was terrified, you know, but, by the end of the trip, I remember hearing that if it's meant to be, oh, this is bad.
It'll be.
Yeah, that song.
Yeah.
And that song was the thing that like hit me to be like, oh my God, I'm fine by myself. I got this. And if anything is meant to be, it'll come in. But I'm comfortable just like hanging out with myself. And then I actually started to prefer it. So that's what started the hermit thing. So we could go into that whole thing of like, you can get too comfortable being by yourself and too comfortable like in your own energy. And you have to allow like compartmentalize like people time in here, you know? But yeah, so it's all about balance. Everything is about balance. And that's why we have boundaries. And like, shit, I remember being 18 years old and having somebody, a psychologist, kind of like give me a book that the title is Boundaries. If you want to look it up, it's on Amazon. There's like rocks on the front of it. And she was like, you need boundaries. Everything in your life is messed up because you do not have boundaries. And I was like, I don't even know what that word means. Like, why the fuck don't they teach this shit in school, you know?
Well, and the sad part is that most of the time you can see this in your own family dynamic. Like, yeah. I know for a freaking fact I can in my own family. Like, there's just this whole dance constantly swerving around in my whole family where there's the narcissists and the codependents are always chasing around the narcissists and like fucking babying them and nursing them, and it's just like this whole thing that's kind of like a perpetual cycle that's always gone in my family. And I think that when you get that like burst of like, no, I'm not going to be like you guys. I want to figure out what the hell is wrong with me. You guys screwed me up from the way that I grew up. And so I want to live and lead a different life. And when you start doing that, like I noticed with me, like my family is like, we have a whole different dynamic and relationship now than we used to. So yeah. I think if you can take the first step of like figuring out who you are would be the first step. And then the second step would be to set up those boundaries. And then the third step would be to protect your energy, no matter who you're around.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, you can always carry crystals around to protect your energy throughout the process in general, or a pin cap or what the fuck ever. But yeah, I agree with you. Yes, that you need to figure out who you are. And I hate it. I remember being like years and years of me being like, you have to love yourself before you can love anybody else. And I was like, that's the stupidest thing in the world. But it really is the truth. Yeah.
Well, because think about it. If you don't know who you are and what you need and what you want out of life, then you won't know what boundaries to put up in the first fucking place. You won't even know what to say no to and what to say yes to. You're just this big ball of a confused mess, which I can relate to totally. Like, it sucks. And basically you're a follower and you're letting these people in your life lead you like a fucking sheep to wherever they want you to go, instead of putting your foot down and going like, no, I don't want to be here. I want to go this way. This isn't the life that I want. And I guarantee you that if you're sitting here watching this and you're not happy with your life, it's because you're not going where you want to go, and you're not doing what you want to do, and you're not getting the needs fulfilled that you have. So
so when you were talking at one point, I use a thing in my practice is talking about like, who are your top court of people? Is it okay to talk about this? I think that it's kind of okay. So the reason why it came up is because Erica talked about your 5 love languages and stuff like that. So what I say with the top court of people is that there's 5 of them. So who fulfills your needs physically? So if you can think in your life, who is that person? If you don't have that person, then this is like, and you require 5 love language wise physical touch, then go get a massage once a month. There was times in that year that I had to have 2 or 3 massages in a month because mine is a physical touch. So because you have to have these all the time. So the next one is who fulfills your spiritual needs. So that could be like your Reiki practitioner, who, like, whatever. Spiritual wise, you can be your pastor. It can be your whatever. Who is your love person? Who do you talk to about like your like emotions when it comes to love and stuff like that? Who fulfills your mental needs? And then, hang on, I fucked it up, I think. Love, mental, emotional. So yeah. So who do you turn to when you're having a mental problem and you can't figure something out? Who do you turn to when you're having an emotional problem and you can't like get out of that? Who do you turn to when you just want to feel loved? No, it's not loved. It's fun. I'm so sorry. It's fun. Guys, I make this shit up. So, but it works. So we go with it. So physical, spiritual, fun, emotional, and mental. Yeah. So if you can identify who those top people are, who that court of people in your life is, and you contact them at any time and you need them or whatever, and all of your needs are met, you as a foundation are fucking solid. And you can maneuver and go and do whatever you want if you have this like backing you up.
Well, and then also, that's where you're going to exert your energy. So you're like, here's my 5 people. These are the 5 people that I want to make sure that I'm helping them too. I'm giving them what they need out of me. And so that way you're not wandering around like a lost puppy dog trying to please fucking everybody that doesn't deserve it. And that's kind of a thing about being an empath too, is it's like, not only do you need to be needed, but you want to be liked by other people. And it's really painful when people don't like you. But if you can get this solid foundation within yourself and like these top 5 people, like she's saying, you're going to give less and less of a shit about how other people think about you, because you don't fucking need them for anything. You've got it all figured out on your own.
Yes, exactly. Yep. What else do we got to talk about?
Oh, let's see. How long have we been recording now?
We should probably be wrapping it up soon.
Okay. Well, I guess,
Can I read something real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so the fun thing about this is that I did want to do research on, and I didn't get a chance to really do it. Those of you that know me kind of well, I'm addicted to listening to serial killer stuff or watching stuff about serial killers, all kinds of stuff like that. And one of my absolute favorite podcasts to listen to is Last Podcast on the Left. Listen to it if you never have. It's amazing. They did a whole episode on psychic vampires. And the episode was talking about how these people claim to be vampires. And when they were doing the research, they ended up really realizing that it's just the energy vampires kind of a thing. So if you ever hear energy vampire, psychic vampire, it's the same thing. But it's a fictional or a religious creature said to feed off of the life force of other living creatures. The term can also be used to describe a person who gets increased energy around other people, but leaves those other people exhausted or drained. So psychic vampires are represented in the occult beliefs of various cultures and in fiction. So I kind of wanted to get a little bit weird with this to like, when you're in the metaphysical community, and I've noticed this so many times that when we're at Mystic Fest and stuff like that, that like I can easily feel if somebody is a psychic vampire that's like around us, because I can immediately be like, whoa, So it is extremely important if you guys are involved in the metaphysical community and go to crystal shops, metaphysical festivals, or whatever, you have to protect your energy because these psychic vampires prey on empaths. And it's like a legit, like, culty kind of a thing. And they consider themselves, I am a vampire. I know what I'm doing. I am going to steal your energy. Like, these people know that they're doing this. Most of the time, people that are psychic vampires or energy vampires don't know that they're doing that. They have no idea that they're like, you're giving me power. I'm going to suck your energy dry. And they don't know, like the narcissist.
They're doing it subconsciously.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes. So there is a whole other spin of it, of that there is a fucking group of people out there that actually do it specifically to, like, fuck shit up. So yeah, I kind of wanted to just talk about that, I guess.
It's also, this is like not like a global problem too, that if everybody took their own time to work on this individually, it could really change the collective in general. I mean, if you think about it, when you think about these pyramid schemes, that's what it is. It's this little dude on the top right here, and he's sucking all the fucking resources from the bottom to make himself more wealthy and successful and rich and good looking and whatever, while all these people in the bottom are all poverty stricken and exhausted and working fucking 12 hours a day, like, so on and so forth. So I mean, this is kind of something that we've built our entire fucking society to, and it's time to be done with it.
Yep. Yeah. And I will admit wholeheartedly, like, so many people that are laying on my table, I call them out. I'm like, oh, okay, well, this was an instance where you needed energy, so you went and did this. In this moment, you were an energy vampire. And it's, all of us do it. We all do it. Like, when we're sad, we're like, I want to be around somebody. Like, I know for a fact that when my best friend passed away, I associated myself with people that were not associated with him, so I did not have to feel the sadness. And I wanted to be around fun people because I wanted to be in that energy. So in those moments, I was a psychic vampire. Like, we all do it. But now I'm aware. Now I understand what I need. I turn to my top court of people. I'm able to figure it out, get back to who I am, put in your fucking work with yourself. And yeah, but most of humanity doesn't do this.
Yeah, and now that you're more conscious about it, I mean, you're still sucking energy, but the difference is that, like, when you call me to, like, vent at me or, vent to me or whatever, that when you're done venting, I'm going to vent back at you. And so it's a whole different ball game once you figure that out.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Yep. So, is this concluding our podcast today?
I'd say so. But let's kind of sum up. So thank you for watching podcast number 3. Yay. And make sure on YouTube to be liking this video, to be subscribing, and then also clicking the little bell so you get notified when we post a new video. Also, please be sharing this video so that way we can get this message out to all the unwoke people out there that need to hear this shit so they can start working on themselves and get ourselves globally to that point where the whole fucking world is self-actualizing and working on themselves. It would be so beautiful. So if you agree with that message, make sure you're helping us get the message out. And then also, if you would like to request a topic for us to talk about, send us an email at sacredrebels333@gmail.com.
Yeah. And yeah, if you would like to take advantage of any of our services or whatever, you can find me across all the platforms, clairvoyant, psychic medium. I'm running some specials. I have a bunch of services. Everything is offered over the phone, and I would love to connect with people. I love meeting new people and helping them out. And yeah, Erica, you talk about yourself.
So you can find me on Facebook at Erica Lane. And I think if it's like the @ mark, it's at Erica Lane Universal Energy Healing, I think. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, if you search Erica Lane on Facebook, you'll probably find me. I do a lot of astrology stuff. I do a daily astrology reading. And then also you can click on book now and you will find my list of services. I'm currently working on like an evolutionary growth type of program that I've come up with, as well as doing like subscription services and stuff. So yeah, check that out.
Yay! So thank you, everybody. That's it. Bye. Oh, wait, I don't know how to. Okay, bye.
Bye. It's still recording.
Oh my God, hang on. How do I stop recording? Okay.